Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. So, today I am going to be talking about the entirety of the American television series House of Cards. If you caught all of my separate little seasonal reviews, you'll know I am not wearing the suit that I wore in my Season 6 review. Sorry, cry me a river, I don't care. Um, However, I have attempted to make a house out of cards, and it was very small, so there's that. So, I own most of the seasons. I don't own 5 and 6 because they suck, and I'm actually considering getting rid of 3 and 4 because I don't really have a reason to rewatch them. But I'm gonna just, before I actually talk about the main show, I'm gonna go ahead and rank the seasons in my humble fucking opinion. So in 6th place is going to be season 6 with a 3 out of 10. Also, if you want a more like in-depth talk about each season, watch my individual reviews. Season 6 has some of the worst plot lines in the show and has one of the slowest moving paces in the show, even though it's the shortest season at 8 episodes. And I think that's due to a lack of Frank Underwood, which I understand why he's gone, but why didn't they just end the show? Number 5 spot, I'm going to put season 5. Season 5 was kind of a build up to season 6, and like I want to say that it was because they kicked Kevin Spacey off, which is a reasonable thing to do after the allegations came out, but there was this season which is kind of rough that has Kevin Spacey. The season is a 7 out of 10, which is a lot better than a 3 out of 10, but it's still not great and doesn't hold up to the rest of the show. Next, my number 4 spot is going to go to season 3. Some of the weakest plot lines, but the Russians were actually kind of cool with Mads Mikkelsen's brother, who isn't as good as Mads, but is still a pretty good actor. This season is an 8 out of 10. I know in my review I said like an 8.5, but really thinking about it more, the first 2 episodes were just kind of shit. And then it picks up in the plot. Still not great. Not great at all. Like, not bad at all, either. It's decent, but it's not amazing, and it's nowhere near as good as my top 2 are going to be. Number 3 spot is going to go to season 4. Season 4 is a little bit better than 3. The Hammerschmidt plot was pretty cool, but again, it suffers from the first few episodes being kind of a weak start, which is the complete opposite of what season 5 had, where it was a alright start, and then it went downhill. Still, the end there wasn't horrible. Season 1 is getting my number 2 spot. This is a great season and a great start. This season I actually cared about the characters. Not as much as season 2, which will be my top spot if you haven't figured that out. But Zoe I cared about as a character, which it was kind of hard to in season 2. Frank and Claire Underwood, I definitely like started to like I actually cared about the characters for the first 2 seasons, and the plots were decent. It's a show about political corruption, and the first 2 seasons are a lot about political corruption. And number 1 is season 2. Best season of the show, top 10 seasons of television ever. There are 2 kinds of pain. It says it. There are 2 kinds of pain. Season 2 just had some of the best plot lines, and it was the only season that had me completely enthralled from beginning to end. Like, I watched this season in 3 days. That's pretty quick. Which, that's not the fastest I've ever watched a season of television. One day. But House of Cards is just very, very enjoyable. And for the first bit, so now I'm actually going to talk about the show. This is a show about political corruption. I said that earlier, starring Kevin Spacey and Robin Wright, as well as a few other people. Yeah. Kate, Mara, yeah. So, the first 2 seasons are really about Frank Underwood's attempt to become president of the United States, which should have been the end of the show, I'm just going to be honest, but they carried it on because it made the money and because Netflix sees a show that had a perfect ending and chooses to make 4 more seasons versus sees a show that literally could have ended it, had a great plot line going, and then cut it off after like 1 or 2. God love Netflix. House of Cards is a really well done show, and I want to give it like a very high score, but it's brought down a lot by the second half. More like the second in thirds. basically everything post season 2 is just trying so hard to be the first 2 seasons, and that's because they changed a lot of the writers and just kind of stopped knowing how to write. They changed it from, oh, something happens and that's a major plot point, to a new problem came up, time to deal with it in 2 to 3 episodes. I've had that complaint for like every review post season 2, and it's just a serious issue with the show. It fell off. This show hardcore fell off. I'm giving this show in its entirety an 8 out of 10, and I really want to give it something higher, but I can't. It's an 8, which that's not bad, but I was really hoping that I would be able to at least give it a 9, and I was horribly disappointed when I wasn't. I went into season 3 expecting it to be good. It was fine. I went into season 4 expecting it to be fine. It was a bit better than fine. I went into season 5 expecting it to be fine, and it was eh. And I went into season 6 expecting mid, and I was still disappointed. This show is full of disappointments. My recommendation to anybody who hasn't watched it, watch the first 2 seasons. Do yourself a favor, stop after that. And that's the end of this. If you want to, go watch my other content. If not, don't. Yeah.